13th question. Discuss the recent measures initiated in disaster management by the Government of India, departing from the earlier reactive approach. Okay. So what are the recent measures? So you need to write what was the part of earlier reactive approach and what is the latest proactive approach, if any, and what are the measures taken, and then a proper way forward or the conclusion. So give the framework, take a couple of minutes of time. Yeah, yes, Rajni. So that is a good way to approach this answer. So basically, the question is demanding you about the various, measures which have been taken by the government under disaster management for being proactive in their approach. Okay. So basically, you can write about the importance of disaster management in the advent of climate change, because India is now encountering more and more disaster. And then what is the requirement for having a proactive approach? That can be your introduction. And then in the first side heading, you will have the recent measures initiated in this disaster management. So what are the recent measures which have been taken by the Government of India? The first is that, the Sendai framework with regard to the prevention, mitigation, response and rehabilitation. Whatever the PMRR is there under the Sendai framework, the Government of India is trying to go and address each and every aspect of the Sendai framework. So hence NDRF or the National Disaster Management Act is now in line with the Sendai framework, which is applicable up to 2030. And yes, earthquake disaster risk indexing, and we are doing proactive zonation for many disasters like earthquakes and then landslides, and having predetermined addressing of the cyclones, super cyclones, whatever are the cyclones which are going to impact the Indian coast. We are now proactively monitoring them and trying to guide the people according to that. And then more power to the local self-governments or the local administration in managing the disasters. Instead of the top-bottom approach, now we are following the bottom-top approach. And then the government has come up with an institution called CDRI, that is Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So this particular coalition will be trying to make disasters more resilient and less, as far as the damage and its impact is concerned. Okay. And then we are also having many disaster risk mitigation projects, and then disaster risk reduction scenarios we are trying to project. So this is the proactive approach instead of the previous reactive approach. Here you can mention what are the previous reactive approaches. Like, there were multiple agencies or top-bottom approach where the command was taking too long to be passed on to the last mile and there was already damage done. And then it was more of response than prevention and mitigation in the previous approach. As to how to respond to a disaster was the main focus. But now the focus is how to prevent and mitigate a disaster is a much bigger focus in the present approach. Okay. And then also the technology. The technology is being extensively used in fighting the disasters, and also the know-how about the disasters, yes, through the local knowledge is also being managed. Okay, so these are the previous measures and these are the proactive measures. And by writing this, you can write the conclusion. Okay, the way forward can be, the disasters are going to occur very frequently in view of the climate change. And also the need of the hour is to have very innovative solutions by implementing the technology. And we can also, yesterday someone has given a very good solution of having an exclusive disaster management ministry, that way which can integrate all the bodies under the disaster management and can be a single line command during the disasters. We are not knowing its importance in view of the isolated occurring disasters, but if there is, God forbid, any major disaster, that time many bodies are trying to coordinate with each other, and they are they will find it that they are falling short of someone who they can look up to. So you can give the conclusion of the requirement for having a proper disaster management ministry, and on that note then you can conclude. So this will be the framework for the 13th question. Yeah, these are all solutions you can write, Sumant, partnering with NGOs, taking up the local knowledge and all. Anyone's whose answer sheet was not evaluated in the last 2 classes and who has written this? Navya, you have written. Sriram, you have written it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. You have added one more dimension of recent measures. Good. This is also good dimension. So you are trying to bring up government schemes. Yes. Awareness generation. And then yes, drawbacks of previous policies. Maybe you can write, yes, inordinate delays, top bottom approach, multiple agencies. You can write all that. You can write slightly better conclusion with regard to the need for being proactive. Okay?
Yes, sir.